Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The rookie out of Ohio State, working White the right side, comes off a Collins pick, into the paint, jump stops, fires, sits on the cup and goes in. Going to his left like he did as a Buckeye all year long last year. Puts in two. The fearless Bryce Sensabaugh. Kevin Scott hands done the ball with 4.6 to Sexton in the right corner. He's wide open for three and he missed it. Rebound tipped around. Game over. Colin Sexton was wide open.
Welcome back. It's another edition of JJ and Alex right there. Sorry to bring you back with such a downer there, JJ.
It depends on your perspective.
Well, JJ's like this. As soon as he missed it, he puts his hands in the air. Woo!
Hey, the Jazz gave us a great game last night. They entertained the heck out of us.
Oh, yeah.
They came away with an L, which means we're one step closer to keeping that pick.
Listen, that's a perfect scenario for you then.
It's perfect.
Kept your interest. There's a fight toward the end of the game.
Yes.
Look, and anytime an assistant gets involved with a player like that, that's next level. And these are teams that don't as if they care. This is the Bulls who kind of are like meh in the East. These are the Jazz who are definitely like headed the wrong direction in the West. They do not have anything except for just the competitive nature of it. So yes, the Jazz get the loss last night. Bright spots, of course, from Bryce Sensabaugh, who had a career high 15 points and 12 rebounds. Nice night for the kid. A fun one to watch too. It was a fun game to watch. I had to have both BYU and the Jazz up at the same time, which is a real killer for my wife, who's like, we're doing double duty tonight with the games on. I said, shush, this is work. I'm over here working. And she's like rolling her eyes for the millionth time in our marriage. Yeah. So there you go. We've got tons to get to. We're at the warehouse in Salt Lake City, 1825 South 300 West. Tom Curl's going to roll out some crazy deals for us because that's what he does. We are sitting on a very, very comfortable couch, which is what we do when we show up here. So we've got tons to get through. Our program is brought to you by G2G Bars, all natural ingredients, no preservatives. The G2G Bar, perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. You can find them at Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, and any of your associated foods, all in the refrigerated section. So let's kick the show off. We got a great guest here right off the bat. He is Ben Anderson from Jake and Ben, of course, and that's where we're going to start things right here with The Cut at the top of the program.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Trajan Wealth also bringing you our program today, TRAJANwealth.com if you're looking to get your retirement planned out right, TrajanWealth.com. Ben Anderson on the program as always. Anytime we get Ben with us, it's a good day. And breaking down the Utah Jazz, you can, of course, listen to his podcast, Jazz Notes. You can hear him on Jake and Ben. Read his byline at KSLSports.com when it comes to Jazz. Did I get it all in there, Ben? I mean, have we got you working enough?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a lot. I sound busier than I feel.
Yeah, okay, there you go. I think that's like a lot of us. We could really
because he's so efficient at what he does.
We could build that resume quite well for ourselves, and in the end, we're watching sports for our job. So last night it was a very interesting game. It was fun to watch. You knew that the lineup was going to be weird based off of the injury report again for the second game in a row. Justin Zanuck had said it on Hands and Scotty earlier in the day. He was like, look, the next few lineups are not going to be the ideal ones that if you're a coach you're putting together and you love. But what did you love about last night's game against this Bulls team?
No, I like that they're still trying hard. I mean, that was a team of players and John Collins and Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton who, if they wanted to check out, they could have and just said, you know what, we're not going to the playoffs this year and it's not really about us anymore at this point. We don't know what the offseason looks like, but they all took it very seriously. I mean, Jordan Clarkson is driving to the rim and attacking the hoop with, a minute and a half to go and putting his body at risk doing that. And Colin Sexton only knows one speed, and that's 11. He's always going. And actually, since the trade deadline, I think John Collins has been pretty spectacular. He's not shooting the three well, but he's playing really hard. So I like that even on the nights when, the veterans could mail in if they wanted to, they're playing hard. And then, though we didn't get to watch Taylor Hendricks or Keontae George, which I think are probably the more interesting players for the Jazz, I thought it was good to see Bryce Sensabaugh have his chance to have a breakout performance.
Yeah, a lot to get to with different elements of this. You mentioned the veterans. I was really impressed, too, that you're absolutely right. These guys could just kind of mail it in a little bit. They really competed last night, which is a good example to players like Bryce Sensabaugh on the team who are trying to learn how to be a pro. I think that says a lot about the culture that the Jazz have right now. Will Hardy is getting these guys to play even when there's not a lot to play for. Specifically, I want to ask you, though, about Colin Sexton because he's just been terrific this year. And for me, he's convinced me that he needs to be a part of the Jazz long-term plan. When they're discussing what the future is, Colin's a young player, but he's getting better every game. He plays with an energy and a passion that you love to see. And they already have him under contract. I feel like Colin Sexton has showed that he is part of the timeline here and he can be a part of the Jazz long-term plans. How do you feel about the way Colin has played, and you agree with that?
Yeah, of the veterans, he's certainly been the best player. And that's where it gets really tricky because if the Jazz do want to make a splash and go and, trade for a player, they're going to have to include some contracts. And probably, if you're talking about an all-star level player, a high-level player, they're going to want a piece back that isn't just salary filler or isn't just an aging veteran that may not be something they can build around. They're going to want somebody like Colin Sexton in a trade. So in that sense, the problem is he is so good. And if you are going to make a trade to get a big-time player, I think that's going to be the person everyone asks for, and rightfully so, because like you said, JJ, I mean, I don't know his minutes per game offhand, but it's probably like 23, 24, and he's averaging 19 points a game. He just doesn't play a whole lot, and he does score a lot, and he plays really hard, and I don't want to say he's a culture setter because he's a very unique personality, but he's far from, a bad guy to have in the locker room. I think everyone likes having him around. I like that he plays hard every night. So that's really valuable. And I guess the nice thing is, and it's what Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck did really well at the trade deadline, or I guess in the summer 2 years ago in 2022, where they told everybody, hey, guys, we'll just hold on to Rudy Gobert. We'll just hold on to Donovan Mitchell. We don't have to trade these guys. If you like them, you got to keep adding more to the package. You got to meet our price. And I think that's how the Jazz probably feel about Colin Sexton. I wouldn't call him untouchable, but if they like him, there's no reason to trade him unless you have a really great deal to send back. So I think that's the value in Colin Sexton, is that he does have value in a trade, but if you don't want to move him, you don't have to. And you get 20-point per game production, which is unique and something I think you were hoping for. And as much as I think everyone anticipates Keontae George having a big breakout, next year, and I'm actually in that group too, I could see him, given the right situation, being up close to 20 points per game. If he doesn't hit it, which is not actually all that, uncommon, where sophomores don't make that big jump you're expecting, that's fine if there's another person in the backcourt for him to share the ball with and have another lead ball handler. So by no means would I be in a rush to get off of Colin Sexton's deal. And then, you know what? I don't know if he's the type of guy who's going to demand max money in 2 seasons when he's a free agent. He might be a guy you can kind of continue to sign at a pretty reasonable number, a high number, but not maxed out just for the case of maxing somebody out.
What does that do for the long-term plan, or how does it affect, if it does at all, the Jordan Clarkson tenure in Utah? Or is it tied to it at all? Because there's part of you that goes, all right, Colin Sexton, you're getting all of this out of him, and then you've got Jordan Clarkson, who you also were kind of getting a lot of those similar traits, right? A guy who plays hard. He's a leader in his own right, has his own way of doing it, but also is a scorer. So how does that affect JC's future?
Yeah, I think there is some overlap there, and then you talk about Keontae George as well, and that's where it gets difficult because, honestly, I don't know if you can play Keontae George and Colin Sexton together in the same backcourt starting for 30 minutes a game. That I think is actually kind of the hard part for what the Jazz want to do with Colin Sexton is he okay not playing second fiddle, but not being the starting point guard with the ball in his hands, because, all signs point to Keontae George being that guy, and that's who the Jazz are trying to mold him into. And he's done a heck of a job in his rookie season, showing that probably is what he is going to evolve into. So that's the issue, is that neither of them are huge. Keontae George is probably 6'3", 6'4". Colin's probably 6'1", 6'2". The Jazz probably don't want to repeat what they did with Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell, which was 2 small backcourt players. So was Colin okay assuming that 6-man role, which is what Jordan Clarkson has done most of his time in Utah, has kind of gone back to that this year under Will Hardy. Is there room for all of them? I would think not. And, unfortunately, you do have to pick one or the other, and I do think those guys will have value to other teams.
Bryce Sensabaugh taking advantage of the injury situation with the Jazz, not only getting a lot of rotation minutes, but made his first start last night. 15 points, 12 rebounds. This has been a pleasant surprise at the way he's played and developed here quickly with the minutes he's getting. What's your evaluation of what we've seen from Bryce Sensabaugh so far?
Yeah, he is an extremely talented shooter. He has the ability to create a shot for himself. I like his pacing. Like, he's not super quick twitch. It's not how he gets anywhere, but he is so strong and he's so big that he seems to be able to get to his spots and then can get shots off. Like, he'll get a shot blocked occasionally, but he had a couple of tough shots yesterday, driving to the rim or pulling up at mid-range that, honestly, you kind of need in the Jazz's future, because I don't know if Lauri Markkanen's going to develop into a guy who dribbles into an 18-footer or a 15-footer. And Keontae George does it some. He gets his shot blocked quite a bit when he does it. Colin Sexton's a little small. So when you have a guy who's 6'5", 6'6", like you have there, he can get into the mid-range. He can get his own shots off, and that's what he did at Ohio State. So Bryce Sensabaugh is really intriguing in that sense. And you know what? For as many issues as he was, rumored to have defensively, he certainly tries. I mean, he's putting in the effort. It's not like he doesn't try on that end. And Will Hardy talks a lot about technique. The nice thing is you can teach technique. It's not like the physical skills aren't there. So I'm pretty intrigued by Sensabaugh. My only question is, how much does he need the ball in his hands to be effective? And can he be a guy who stays engaged if he's not getting a lot of touches? And if he needs touches, do the Jazz even have the ability to find it for him?
Johnny Juzang, here we are talking about Johnny Juzang here. It's March.
It's time.
That's what we do.
It's time.
So Johnny Juzang did not have the rock-solid 20 minutes that he had the other night. What's his future like with the Jazz? He's on a 10-day. You can't do the 10 days anymore next year. So what does it look like for him long-term with this Jazz organization? I would assume there are a handful of other guys, too, that are wondering what their future looks like, not just for the Jazz but in the NBA.
Yeah, I could see him, back this summer and on the summer league roster, but he may want to go sign somewhere else and may get some interest somewhere else, or may decide to go over to Europe. But he could continue to try out for the Jazz roster. Again, the hard part about the Jazz is they've got, Walker Kessler's only going to be in his third season, and you're only going to have three of these players, these 20-year-olds now, Bryce Sensabaugh, Taylor Hendricks, and Keontae George, are going to be sophomores and still only 21. And then you're probably going to add at least one more rookie next year, likely a top 10 pick. Maybe the Jazz package all three of those draft picks, but I still think they're going to bring in one rookie. And all of a sudden, you've got five guys on your roster who are third year or younger. It's just a lot of youth, and at some point, it's hard to develop everybody. And you might get a guy like Johnny Juzang who says, "You know what? I can't wait for my turn anymore. I can't wait for it to be my opportunity." And the Jazz have Jason Preston, who we haven't even seen yet. He's signed to one of these two-way deals, so he's going to be back on the Jazz and the Stars next year. So that's where it just might be a roster crunch, where my guess is the Jazz are going to try and start winning, and at least competing for the playoffs so they can convey their draft pick and get these guys some taste of winning and an above 500 record. So I already mentioned five guys 21 and under. You've got Lowry coming back. That's going to be 6. You've got Colin Sexton probably coming back. That's 7. One of Jordan Clarkson or John Collins, I'm sure, is back. That's 8. And then you've got to start adding, rotation players and guys who can actually help you win behind those players. So I don't know how young you can actually be, and that might weed out roster spots for guys like Johnny Juzang.
There were some fun moments last night. Jordan Clarkson's dunk was an awesome moment, getting a chance to win the game at the end. But I think everyone's going to remember that game last night for, I don't want to call it a fight, but some pushing and shoving in front of the Bulls bench. John Collins and Colin Sexton involved in that. Even an assistant coach for the Bulls gets involved in that. Were you able to get to the bottom of what happened there, what caused all that, and what could the fallout be from this?
Yeah, there was. So Colin just kind of held on to DeMar DeRozan. They did the take foul to send DeMar DeRozan to the free throw line because the Jazz were down 1 at the time and had to stop the clock and give themselves a chance to get the ball back. And so after Colin fouled him, he just kind of held on to DeMar a little bit, was kind of fighting for the ball still. And it seems like the Bulls bench obviously was a little annoyed by Colin adding a little bit after the whistle. And DeMar DeRozan didn't seem that upset about it. He kind of laughed it off and walked to the free throw line. But Torrey Craig comes over and gets in everybody's face, which is weird. He's not even in uniform. John Collins just kind of comes in. And John Collins historically is a peacemaker. John Collins is a very nice guy. He is not an instigator. Andre Drummond was an instigator there. Torrey Craig was an instigator there. So for the Bulls assistant to put his hands on anybody not named or anyone not in a Bulls uniform is very kind of uncouth. That's really out of the ordinary, unless there's just full fist being thrown and you have to break it up at any cost. And that was the case. So I'm totally understanding why John Collins was a little, weirded out by the idea that one of the Bulls coaches was touching him. That's not his job at all. You can hold your players back, but you don't get to touch other players. So right. John to be mad and push his arms away was totally justified, and I won't be surprised if the league does find the assistant coaches. You don't want coaches getting involved in this. They've got to set the example, and you hold your players back. You don't touch other guys. So I won't be surprised if maybe John gets a little fight or a little fine because he did put his hands on the coach's neck. But I would expect the coach's fine to be a little bit bigger if there are fines handed down.
Yeah, I think Fleming's the one that's going to get hit, if anybody. And, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if, even a game suspension.
Anytime you see, the assistants, you're like, I don't even know who this cat is.
Yeah.
And then we are suddenly very well aware of who you are. That's not good for you.
We should not know who the assistant coach of the Bulls is.
No, that's part of the deal.
Yeah, absolutely right. I learned Chris Fleming's name last night. I should never know who Chris Fleming is, with all due respect.
I had never heard of him until last night.
Guys, I'm not kidding, and I cover the team full time. There's assistant coaches on the Jazz who I don't know their names.
Yeah,
they're supposed to be anonymous, right? You are behind the scenes. You don't need to know everybody's name, and that's just fine when that's the case.
The Utah Jazz, of course, the rest of the way here, like you said, you wouldn't be surprised if they just said, hey, you know what, buckle down, let's win as many of these games as possible. How long do we know? I mean, I know that Walker was, I think, a full participant today in practice. I know that Taylor Hendricks, Lauri Markkanen and Keontae George are both day-to-day. How close is that? I feel like the illness that Keontae was going through is probably an easier one to sort of get through versus, actual quad contusion. So what do we know about Lauri's process and all this of getting better, and Walker and Keontae?
Yeah, I'm not rushing anybody back to play in Denver. That's just going to be a tough game. Right. Denver's playing the Celtics tonight. If Denver loses, they lost to Phoenix 2 nights ago. If they lose tonight, they're going to be hungry to get a win, and they're going to want to come out and smash the Jazz. I'm not forcing Lauri Markkanen with a bruised quad back onto the floor just to get him out there. So I would be patient. And the nice thing is the Jazz don't play tonight. They don't play tomorrow. They play Saturday. They have Sunday and Monday off. They play the Celtics Tuesday, another brutal game. And then you have Wednesday, Thursday off. So, realistically, if you want to hold Lauri Markkanen until a week from tomorrow, he would only miss 2 games, which, he's the star of your franchise. You want to give him $150+ million this offseason. Don't rush him back. It is an opportunity to get other guys on the floor. I think you like knowing, with Luka Šamanić, a long-term part of the roster. Will Hardy seems to like him. His production has been mixed when he's been on the floor. You don't mind Keontae George getting touches if he comes back. You don't mind Bryce Sensabaugh getting more touches. So I'm not rushing Lauri back at all. And if you end up with the 9th pick or the 8th pick as opposed to the 10th or the 11th, if you get jumped in the lottery and lose your pick, it's worth it to have Lauri sit out a couple of extra games. Not that I think they're a major threat to beat either Denver or Boston, even if they're fully healthy.
Someone asked you a very interesting question in your mailbag about the Jazz and the 2025 NBA draft. Asking if the Jazz would tank in 2025. Now, A, is the draft that good that the Jazz would even want to consider that? And B, can Jazz fans stomach another season of that?
Here's the thing. I think the Jazz front office can, and that would really be a drag for a lot of Jazz fans. I know they're kind of tired of this. And the thing is, the Jazz are going to operate at their own pace, and if they need to lose 80 games and only win 2 picks, or only win 2 games, if they think that's what's going to get them closer to a title, I firmly believe they have the stomach for it. And everything I've been told, talking to people who know, say they are willing to lose as many games as they have to if they think it will get them closer to a title. With that said, they didn't tank last year to get Victor Wembanyama. They certainly did the last 10, 15 games of the season, but they were 35-36 at one point. They were better last year than they were even this year. So, they're tanking a little bit more this season. Would they tank more next year? Conceivably. But I just think they're going to be too good. I think if Lowry's healthy and Collins back and Walker's going to be a little bit better next year and Keontae's going to be better, Taylor Hendricks looks like he's very promising. I have a hard time seeing the Jazz losing enough games to be in real contention for the two players at the top of next year's draft who are Cooper Flagg and Ace Bailey, who are expected to be, high-level all-stars in the NBA. I would be surprised if the Jazz were able to only win 20 games or 25 games because, look at the new standard of what tanking takes in the NBA. It used to be 23, 24, 25. Now it's, Detroit and Washington are sitting on 9 wins still. Yeah, 12 wins. 9 wins. Those guys are going to win 12 games this season. It's crazy how few wins you have to get. And then it's just like, are you really going to put Lowry through that? Like, are you going to put Keontae George through that? Like, unless you get Victor Wembanyama and he's already in your back pocket, I'm just not asking my team to only win 12 games at a chance at a top 2 pick. Again, Detroit lost all those games last year and ended up with the 5th pick. Like, there's no guarantee you get that number 1 spot. So would the Jazz tank? If by midseason they're not playing well and don't like their playoff odds, yes, they could do it again next year. I wouldn't sell them. I wouldn't say that's an impossibility, but I don't think they go into the season with a plan of winning 25 games next year.
Ben Anderson, best in the market. You got to follow him on Twitter. You got to, of course, subscribe to the Jazz Notes podcast, and you got to follow his byline there at KSLSports.com. The Jazz at the Nuggets on Saturday, and then they have 4 in a row at home before they head back out on the road again. So, Ben, we appreciate it, man. We love having you on. You're the best, man.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
There you go. There you go, Ben Anderson.
Man, I can't stomach another season like this.
He didn't even mention the fans part of it, too.
I don't know. At some point, you need to see progress.
Because the fans,
and you can't keep waiting for the next draft and the next draft and the next draft. You've got to figure some stuff out.
You know what? Now that you said it like that, we are the ones that – it's the players – you don't want to ask Lowry of it, but he's also getting $28 million a year to do it. We aren't making $20 million a year doing it. We're just below that. The fans –
just a little bit.
The fans can walk away from – the team game to game.
How can you ask somebody to buy season tickets next season knowing you're going to do that?
Dude, so I have a neighbor. They split the they went halvesies with friends of theirs on season tickets. And he's like, they're trying to shove tickets onto each other. No, hey, I know this was your game. Or I know this is my game, but do you want the tickets? I mean, that's the kind of person that I am. I just want you to have them.
When
they're taking on the Bulls, when they're taking on the Hawks in Salt Lake. Excuse me. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. So you know what? We are the ones that have it the worst. The people who cover it in the media. All right.
Oh right, yeah.
Those are the ones who have it the worst. Who have to cover a team that's struggling.
We can cover it any way they make it. That's what we do. We react to whatever it is. I can't imagine what it's like to have to fork over thousands of dollars for tickets when you know what you're going to be getting for the tickets.
Right.
It's a tough sell, and that's the line the Jazz are towing right now. I 100% get and support and applaud what Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck are done with the support of Ryan Smith. But eventually, at some point, you got to flip it. You got to start winning games. You got to start getting closer to being that contender that you're trying to be. And you can't just lean on, the next draft, the next draft, the next draft. It takes more than one player. Alex, we're seeing Victor Wembanyama, who we all believe is a generational talent. The Spurs stink.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not that close. They got a lot of guys they got to go get.
They're awful, and they're only like
him.
What are they? Only the 4th worst team in the league, too?
Right, exactly.
So, they're bad, but you have a next-level bad with a couple of single-digit win teams in the East that are fighting for – whatever a version of a number 1 pick looks
there's
like
2 teams with the worst record, and the Hornets aren't far from the Spurs.
Right.
And the Blazers, too, are pretty bad. So there's 2 teams with 9 wins.
Hey, that's who the Jazz –
3 teams with wins in the teens right now.
That's who the Jazz have, by the way, in the Northwest Division. They still have the Trailblazers beat. Now,
they do.
Now, the winner of the NBA title will likely come out, I feel like, of the Northwest Division between the Timberwolves, the Thunder,
Isn't it crazy that the top 3 teams in the West right now are
all in the
Northwest Division teams? We don't really care about divisions
No, we
anymore,
do too. Hang the banner. Stop it.
Timberwolves, Thunder, Nuggets all lead the Western Conference.
Yeah, they're not
crazy.
Bad. All right, we will take a break. So stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Gentlemen,
you're locked into JJ and Alex. with the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Thursday to you. We're at the warehouse. Well, how come you guys put the plastic wrap around the massage chair? Is that to keep me off of it? It's fine. I get it. We got to be pros here, JJ.
We do. We definitely have to.
They did not want us to be in the massage chair while we're doing the show.
They don't trust us anymore. That's okay. I get it.
They wanted us to focus. That's fine. Don't you
showered today.
Oh, good for you.
I'm in a suit.
Oh, you're looking at it like it's a different plastic wrap situation. This is like, That's
next level.
Yeah.
That's a brand new chair.
It is.
I mean, brand like right off the truck.
I'm gonna make Tom roll out what a price is on this thing here because I bet you can get one of these. This is one of those full massage chairs with the. If you've never done that, you put your feet and your calves and ankles in there. If you've never done that part of it and gotten your arms in the sides and it is a phenomenal experience, and you can have it in your home every day. So
who's going to need that more after the fight, Jake Paul or Mike Tyson?
I feel like Mike Tyson will be sitting in this chair during the fight. So Mike Tyson, yes, you bring up. Let's get back on track. Although I do want to address something here. John Collins, we were just talking about the assistant. What's his name? Craig Fleming, Bill Fleming, John Fleming,
Chris Fleming,
something Fleming.
It's Chris Fleming.
Anyway, bottom line, I love how you guys are like, get it right, it's Chris. No one knew her. None of us knew his name until today.
You could have said Don Fleming.
I know, sure. Actually, I like Don Fleming.
He
will now be Don Fleming forever.
Don Fleming.
Bulls assistant Don Fleming, he's got a real quick trigger on the grumpiness. John Collins said it. He goes, look, that dude needs. I love how he did it. He goes, yeah, look, I'm standing there, I'm just hanging out, and the guy puts his forearm in my chest. He's got to practice some restraint there, and I just love the idea that John Collins is like, that guy needs to practice some restraint. And I love that there was a little bit of a scuffle. If you're at the game, what do you want? I read a thing the other day about hockey fights. They are down considerably across the board. But they are still a part of the game, and it still is one of those things that people go, I want to go to the game and see that fight. All right? So it's a hard thing. On the one hand, you don't want to see that. On the other hand, you kind of are like, I like the benches clearing and nothing really happening. That's always fun.
Yeah.
The little back and forth,
that's
push,
lame.
push,
but
back
when we
and forth.
actually have action where people touch each other, that's next level. That's fun.
Hey, Jeremy, get that drop. when
I made another mistake.
Hey,
I have made it terrible.
I am an idiot.
Anytime we get a couple people standing around touching each other. What did you say? Anyway, bottom
we
line
have
is
too many drops of me saying stupid things. I've only been doing this show for how many months now?
I know.
Jeez.
5 months of having to mind your P's and Q's.
I got to
we'll
clean
get
up
you.
my act.
All right. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul facing off against one another in the weirdest fight matchup I've ever seen. The problem I have with is he the Paul who's good? There's two of them, right?
To be honest with you, I care so little about the Pauls that I couldn't tell you which one's better.
Jake Paul, is he the better one, Jeremy? I love how Jeremy's like, I have the definitive answer on this. Is he the guy then?
I've heard
he's
enough.
He's the one who, yeah, he's the one who's actually like people look at him and go,
Paul
you know
and
what?
Jake Paul,
yeah,
right?
Logan's he's the double A, and the major league guy is Jake Paul. Although we haven't seen him, it's like he almost takes on real boxers. He'll almost take on somebody, and this is in that category. Now, the cool thing is, I love this for Mike Tyson. You know why? He's going to get a fat payday. And this is a guy who had enough money stolen from him from, what's his name? Don Knotts? No.
Don Knotts? Hey, don't you dare throw my guy, Don Knotts, under the bus. Don King!
Don King. He had
Don Knotts is a saint.
I know.
Don't you dare.
So Don King stole, I think, over the years, out of the $394 million that Mike Tyson earned in his fight career, I think Don King walked away with like $288 million of it. And Mike Tyson squandered the rest because he was an 18-year-old who grew up with nothing. And Don King took advantage of him like he did other people. Is he still with us?
He is.
No, he's not.
You,
I was about to say, may he rest.
He's 92.
I was about to say, may he not rest. He's 92?
He may not be with us if you know what I mean,
no,
but
yeah.
he's still breathing oxygen on planet
So
Earth.
I love that Mike Tyson's going to get a big payday because he needs that. Although it seems like he doesn't need it as much these days because he is doing like that Vegas residency and he's kind of turned it around and he's become a likable figure. I like the stuff that he has been doing. He seems to be a guy who knows his demons, still struggles with them a little bit, but is out there talking about it. On the other hand, I don't like Jake Paul. I don't want Jake Paul to get a payday. And yet, it's going to be part of the deal. It's going to be a pay-per-view. It's going to be a 9-figure deal that both of them probably make. And that's fine. The problem is that Mike Tyson is going to fight Jake Paul, and Jake Paul is 25 years younger or 30 years younger than Mike Tyson. And he's been training at a different level. And I know Mike Tyson is Iron Mike, and I know Mike Tyson probably still has an uppercut that would kill most people, but it's still Mike Tyson looking for a payday, and that's the part that I'm a little bit bummed about, is that it's just not going to be a great fight probably.
Are you going to watch it?
Abso-freaking-lutely.
That's all that matters then.
Well, I'm going to make
– that's all Netflix cares about. That's why Netflix is doing this deal.
Right. I'm going to make Hans Olsen pay for it, and then I'll come over.
There you go. You know Hans is paying for it.
Yeah, but I don't know if he is. Like he's the kind of thing where he'll be like, everybody,
is this too low? Is this
everybody
is
owes
this below his level?
Everybody owes $15. I don't know.
I'm going to that part. Yeah.
Let's text Hans. And
he
see
will
if
charge admission. I understand.
That's what I'm saying. He's gonna save $1. But if it's on at his house, let's see if we can get the whole station over there. All right. But Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. I don't. Now here's the interesting thing. If I have regular Netflix, does that mean I can watch it, or are they charging in addition to?
It's a Netflix deal.
Okay, if it's just
you're
Netflix,
already paying $20
right.
plus dollars a month for Netflix.
Is that how much it is now?
Oh yeah.
Every so often
Check your bill.
Every so often they'll ask me. They go, "You want to get crystal clear HD? Look at it. Look at the comparison of the pictures." And I'm like, "No, thanks. I don't care."
They're charging you for 4K, even though
I don't
nothing's
get it.
4K.
No. I don't get any of that. I don't upgrade it at all. So Mike Tyson or Jake Paul, would you watch it?
I would not pay to watch it. No.
All right.
Sorry.
But you've already got.
Why would I want to pay to watch that?
Yeah. No, I'm all about.
Everyone's going to be disappointed. And the good thing is we don't have to pay. I got Netflix, so I guess I'll watch it.
Yeah. No, and I want to see Mike Tyson. It's just like the match.
I'm not paying $75 to
remember
watch
the match?
Garbage.
Do you remember the golf match?
Yeah.
The good one. The first one that was like Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, right?
Yeah.
The problem was the teeth were taken out a little bit because they mic'd up those guys, but they didn't cuss nearly as much as I wanted them to. And then two.
Wasn't real enough for you?
Right, because those guys get it going. And then they were doing these are guys who both have, well, I know Phil Mickelson at the very least has a situation with gambling, all right? And they would be like, "Oh, my charity will give your charity $50,000 if you get closer to the pin on this." And you're like, "That's not real. Come on. You guys, I want you out there," and you're going, "Hey man, I'll give you my kidney if you make this shot." Like those are the bets that Phil Mickelson is used to making.
Yeah.
The stuff where he's absolutely selling out. So in this case, Mike Tyson and Jake Paul on Netflix, that's a great pull for them because they've struggled with the live programming stuff. They try to do that F1 golf situation right prior to the Vegas
That's
trip.
one area where Netflix has not really found their way.
They have struggled right now.
Amazon's doing a great job at the NFL.
Yeah. So it's a weird deal. But I again, there's that little part of you that goes, Mike Tyson could win this thing. He lands one punch, and he's still lightning quick. At least, when you watch him.
He looks to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, he'll keep it up. And
now, is that boxing shape when you're facing somebody who, I don't respect Jake Paul as one of the great fighters in the world. But he's obviously very capable in the ring. And
he's never going to be considered. Yeah, he's never going to be considered like a legitimate title contender in the boxing world. I don't think until he steps up and actually faces real contenders themselves.
Correct.
Not people who used to be contenders. That's kind of his model.
Yeah.
Let's go find somebody who's a little bit worse than what I would be, and let's just make sure that I could probably win this bout. And it's like every boxing match that he has is like, yeah, but this guy's a 17-time MMA champion. And you go, yeah, but his specialty was the Muay Thai. His specialty was the is the judo, something, or the wrestling or the grappling. A lot of times it's not the boxing. And so Mike Tyson's a boxer. How old is he, though?
58.
Is he still with us? 58? How old
Are you trying to kill Mike Tyson before the fight?
How old is Jake Paul?
27.
Okay, so there's a 30-year difference here. Yeah, if you're Jake Paul, do you feel good about that? That's what I would do. If Mike Tyson gets in the ring, I would go, you feel good about this? You feel good about this right now?
I just hope that Jake has both ears when he's done with the fight.
There's a reason he bit Evander Holyfield. It was because he was the original Draymond Green. He had fallen a little too far from the talent tree, so he had to resort to other stuff. Mike Tyson was the original Draymond Green. Yes, shenanigans. That's what you do when your talent level's dipped.
You bite
ears. But I could see him training and telling all of his friends, because I will tell you right now, Mike Tyson is a much scarier individual than Jake Paul ever will be.
No doubt.
So the guy, he has pigeons that he trains just to keep his mind off of murdering people, okay? So let's keep it there. All right, we'll take a break. We've got tons to go here still. We're at the warehouse. We're going to have Tom Curl join us in just a few moments. He will, and then we'll roll out some of the great deals that we have. Around the corner also, a spring football update. So stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us. This portion of the show, as always, well, not always, but we wanted to make mention. You can nominate the youth sports volunteer in your neighborhood who makes a difference more than anybody else that you've seen, somebody who deserves that recognition. By the way, coming up in the final hour of the program, we're going to be reading the winner of this week's Hercules Hero of the Week, who was nominated by a person. And this is what I love. The person who nominated the winner was like, they've been doing this for 20 years of just like absolutely killing it with this particular city's rec department, and just like they work every day 12 hours. They're awesome. Just top to bottom. They need that recognition. So I'm glad we're going to be able to do that a little bit. You can do the same thing. Nominate the youth sports volunteer in your area or somebody who makes an impact in the youth sports in your neighborhood. KSLSports.com/contests. Every Thursday on our program, we're going to read one of those winners, and then Hercules Credit Union, because it's the Hercules Hero of the Week, they roll out a nice little gift for those people. All right. BYU spring football update goes like this before we get to Tom. We were looking at the top quarterbacks who BYU is going to be facing this fall. Now, there's the ranking of the quarterbacks, which we went over on the other day, and they have it like this. I think in the Big 12 rankings on ESPN, they have Noah Fifita, they have Jalen Daniels, and they have Cam Rising. Is that about right? Those are the toughest quarterbacks? BYU doesn't play Colorado, right? That's the thing. They don't face.
They do not.
Sanders.
So no Shedeur Sanders for BYU.
Okay.
So yeah, I think those three, and those are three really good players. Now, Jalen Daniels, we know how talented he is, but he played very little last year. How is the back? Is he going to be able to get back to who he was 2 years ago? Is he going to get back to being the player that earned preseason Big 12 Player of the Year honors last season? We don't know. And that's going to be a wild card in the Big 12, because if Jalen Daniels is Jalen Daniels, Kansas all of a sudden becomes a real threat to win the title.
So, by the way, Tyler Batty, who came back for the express purpose of getting an extra year of trying to be impressive at that defensive end position, it's a spot BYU has been so lacking. And he is a phenomenal athlete, but what he has not done is been the guy who gets double-digit sacks every year, which is what you kind of need. BYU does not have the rush. They don't have that rushing or that the quarterback rushing attack that you're supposed to have at this level. And if you're going to compete in the Big 12, my heavens, you got to show up. You got to make this happen. So I think guys like Tyler Batty, they see the list of quarterbacks who they're facing off against on that defense, and they're a mix between excited and determined to try to figure out how they're going to attack these guys and put pressure on quarterbacks where they have been so lacking in that category. They just have not been able to put pressure on quarterbacks over the last few years. So excited to see what – I don't know, is Jack Kelly going to make an impact year one?
Yes,
is that what
100%.
So he's going to come in.
Jack Kelly could have the same impact. It's not the same position, but Eddie Heckard, he could really be that kind of a disruptor, making plays. It's obviously at the linebacker position, but he's somebody who could get after the quarterback. He did that at Weber State last year.
If he can do it on the other side, by the way, if you have a threat on both sides,
that's exactly
it makes
what you
it
need.
so much better.
You got to have balance
for both of those guys.
You can't have one pass rusher.
Right.
You got to have multiple.
All right, there you go. There's our little spring football update for BYU tomorrow.